This is a video about what happens when you wake up. Hello, this is Wake Up with a video about what happens when you wake up. I got the question, what is happening? Right? When waking up happens, things change, things seem very different. It's not better than before, it's different. You're closer to the truth, but it's not more fun initially. There has been a lot of talk about a light happening when you wake up. This light is not a real light, it's not suddenly that you see the light and angels are singing and so on. At first, this light is annoying and disconcerting because what made fun up till now is gone. But also, the thing that made the problems in your life is equally gone. Both is the illusion that you are yourself. That starts to dissolve, and thus all the enthusiasm goes as well. At least initially. That is why most people, when awakening happens, for some time, they don't know what to do. They sit around, do nothing, and think, my God, there's no purpose. And there isn't. Life is empty and meaningless. But you can give it meaning. Up till now, up until awakening happens, you gave it meaning by your illusions. And now a new way has to happen. This is like when you're traveling or moving to a different country. In the beginning, it's strange. You're a stranger in a strange land. And then bit by bit, you get to know the country and the people, and it starts to get more and more interesting. Same when you learn a new language. Suddenly you can express things that you haven't been able to express in your mother tongue. You find new ways to express yourself and new ways to think. Imagine you wake up in the morning in a dark room, and suddenly the moment you wake up, someone is switching on a light. And not a dim light, a floodlight. And you're blinded and you think, what the... Turn off the light, you bloody idiot. But it doesn't get turned off. So you have been sitting in a dark room for decades, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and suddenly everything is super bright. So in the beginning, you see less. Or you watch a movie at home in a dark room or in a cinema, and then you go outside into the sunlight and suddenly, it's only blinding. Your eyes, after stepping from the darkness into the light, to the sunlight, they adjust in a few seconds or minutes, depending how long the movie was. But your movie had been taking decades. So of course you need a few weeks or months, I'm sorry to say that. The transition period after waking up usually takes a few months of disorientation until you find your new ways. And new things are possible. But initially, it's mainly very strange. And so far, everyone I knew has been saying that. That was their experience. Everyone I know to whom awakening has happened had this experience that in the beginning, it's kind of, the person you thought that was yourself, or that is yourself, is just doing things, but you're not doing them anymore. You watch them happening. And this is strange to a point of being a little bit scary. Sounds a bit mad, actually. But it's the other way around. You awoke or from madness. Or madness stopped suddenly, and now you have to find sanity. So most people are either terribly bored or terribly annoyed initially, and usually also, how to say, surprised, maybe the best word for it. This is not what your mind expected it to be, and all expectations lead nowhere, especially this one. We've been reading, everyone who is a little bit interested in spiritual stuff has been reading a lot of stuff. And some of it is wrong, and some of it we thought meant something else. But in reality, or in truth, it's something you cannot understand. So when it starts happening, you see, that's how it is. But it's not an understanding, it's just a different experience. And then it just is. It is like that. Nothing changes, and at the same time, everything changes. Suddenly. And a part of you just wants to go back. Yeah, it's like in the movie Matrix, that one guy, Cypher, after a while he thinks, okay, I just want to go back to the way it was. And he makes a deal with the Matrix that he goes back to the illusion and becomes a successful businessman. He wants to experience that colorful, intense illusion again. That was so much fun. It was so problematic and dramatic, but also so much fun. And awakening initially is not so much fun because it's new. The one thing that human beings hate is something new. Newness. That's terrible. Every angel is terrible, is what Rilke said. But only initially. Initially everything new is terrible. And to discover that everything you thought was real before is not, is something terrible. And at the same time something very liberating. There's nothing anymore you have to do. You must do. It just happens anyway. You don't have to do anything. You don't need a me to do anything. It will just continue to happen. But some thing that is happening is also waking up somehow. It's hard to explain. It's like your mind is taking a step back. It was in the front all the time, pulling the cart. You had the horse decide where the coach, where the cart would go, and how fast, and when, and how. And now suddenly, the horse is standing still and waiting for the command of the person sitting in the coach. The world stands still. This is what Castaneda meant with stopping the world to turn. For the first time in your life, you're not reacting, you're acting. And the first act is not to do anything. You're wandering. It's a state of wonder, like Goethe put it. But the state of wonder, in the beginning, it's a bit too much. So you don't see the positive things initially, or not very clearly. Your eyes have to start to get used to the intense light, to seeing 1,000 things instead of just one. You're overwhelmed. And this being overwhelmed feels like a lack of something. But it's not. feels like you're blind, but actually you see so much more, and you have to get used to it. So don't be frustrated. All is well. It will pass. Everything passes. There's never a state. There's always only processes. Things are never standing still. All things are always standing still. Depends the way you see it. But one thing is very definite. Things are not the way you thought they are. Suddenly you feel like an observer. Then just observe. Do what is to be done. If only observation is to be done, then only observe. One thing I said in a previous video, nature and awakening, is go and enjoy nature as much as possible. This is much more palatable. It tastes much better than sitting at home in a room or walking through a city. Go into the nature is more natural, and your eyes will get used to the light much more quickly and comfortably. Otherwise, just go on with doing whatever you were doing before. Is that Zen story about a monk who said, before awakening, it's fetching water, chopping wood, eating, sleeping, and so on. And after awakening, it's fetching water, chopping wood, eating, sleeping, and so on. It just goes on. But you realize that it's not you doing it. So all this attention that has been focused on yourself before is suddenly free and unused. And it takes a while to know what to do with all this attention, with all this energy that you wasted before. It's like you suddenly have so much more time than before. Have you ever fasted? If you're fasting and do not eat anything, you suddenly have so much time. There's no more shopping, no more cooking, no more eating. You suddenly have, 5 or 6 hours more time every day. It is the same with awakening. Suddenly there's so much time because you're not rushed to do things anymore. You're not pushed all the time into reacting and thinking and being afraid and being angry and so on. All this took up a lot of energy and a lot of time, and suddenly this is not happening anymore, or it is happening but you don't care, and you're free to do anything. And being free to do anything is also a terrible thing initially, because so far we have always been told what to do or pressured into doing certain things. And suddenly there's no one anymore who tells you what to do, who forces you into doing something. Not even yourself. So that is a very unusual situation. It's not a situation, it's a process. It's happening. There's no standstill. But it feels like a standstill. And at the same time, it is a standstill. Because the process is only happening in Maya. So you get the first glimpse of what is outside of Maya. And outside of Maya, there's nothing. There's empty space. Or there's chaos. And there's everything happening at the same time, totally chaotically, totally colorful, with many, many colors that you have not even known existed in the first place. A very good thing is to talk to someone who has already gone through that. You find someone to whom awakening has already happened and talk your experiences through with him or her. That usually helps. What often doesn't help is to talk to certain friends or family members that have no idea what you're talking about. There can be a bit of estrangement initially because you want to share your experience with someone who cannot possibly understand them or relate to them. Maybe even your wife or your husband, It's difficult to share because it is an experience. It's not a theory that can be explained. And if you tell people, some people will be very interested and some just think you want to boast or impress them or something. They cannot understand that you're trying to reorient yourself because you lost your previous orientation, which was not an orientation but an illusion, and are being forced to do things. You're suddenly running around with one eye open amongst lots of blind people. And if you tell them what you see, they will think you're crazy or something because they can't see it. Doesn't matter, don't worry. All is well. Just keep observing and describe it to someone who does understand it. It helps to put it into language, although it's super difficult in the beginning. And later it will get more interesting again, in different ways that you have not known before. So, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel and see you soon. And keep asking questions.